Hi, everybody. This is Gretchen Hogg and Dr. Jerry Eddington from Lighten Up and Thrive, Joyful Living for Mind, Body, and Soul. And we're really excited to present this third module in our Transitions and Transformations Home Study Series. So this one is called The Fertile Mind, Change Your Thoughts to Reap a Better Life. And this is another really popular topic for everyone. So we're excited to have you experience this journey with us as your facilitators. So again, thanks for participating in this home study. And this is something that you can just do and process at your own speed. So anytime that you want to stop this recording, interrupt it, pause, and you can reflect on your own thoughts. So anyway, just a little bit about me. I am a mind-body-soul coach, hypnotherapist, educator, aromatherapist, and a catalyst for change. And my commitment to you is to assist you to thrive and co-create a joy-filled life aligned with your divine purpose.
And a little bit more about me. I am a soul success coach, an educator, mediator, energy healer, and facilitator of change. And my commitment to you is to assist you in co-creating the life that you are meant to live so you can lighten up and thrive.
There's a lot of information on our website, which is www.lightenupandthrive.com. That's LIGHTENUPANDTHRIVE.com. So let's start our journey for today. So we have some learning outcomes, and that is for you to explore and identify the power and the potential of the human mind, and also to help you discover 3 important truths about the mind and how these truths impact on our lives, and also to enhance your awareness of your thoughts and how thoughts create your reality, and also then to discover ways to eliminate or modify thoughts that are destructive to our well-being. So let's just start right off with an activity, and we're going to call this one the Garden of Your Mind. So imagine for a moment that each of you has been given a farm with hundreds of acres of land on which to plant, to grow, to harvest whatever the fruits and vegetables that you would like, with this one stipulation, that you can only choose 3 items to plant. And those 3 items would be a primary crop and 2 secondary crops. Jerry, what would you choose to plant?
I would think my primary crop would be lavender. I love lavender tea and lavender ice cream and the calming effects. And for my secondary, I think I will do tangelos and lettuce.
Oh, wonderful. My primary crop would probably be the lettuce and spinach and things like that because I'm a big salad eater. Everything would have to be GMO-free because that's a big thing for me. So I would probably like to plant quinoa, and also I would love to plant probably avocados because I love avocados. So pause for a moment and just really think about what you would want to plant for your primary and your secondary crops. Take as much time as you need and think of whatever that is for you. One other suggestion that comes up for some people that have gone through this before is maybe sunflowers. So they're happy flowers, and then you get the sunflower seeds, and other people have suggested goji berries and hemp. So think about whatever that would be for you. Take a moment. Now, let's pretend that you have the know-how to grow your chosen crops. You possess all of the equipment that you need, and you've checked maybe even the Farmer's Almanac, which is predicting absolutely ideal weather conditions during this upcoming growing season. So as a farmer, what mindset of character, temperament, and outlook would you additionally need to possess to ensure growing a successful crop? So pause your recording for a moment and just reflect and write down what mindset would help you to grow your chosen craft. So, Gary, what would you choose?
Let's see. I would say definitely a positive outlook. And being able to pay attention to the details, focus, discipline, perseverance, and determination are the things that come to mind.
Oh, those are great. Absolutely. I like having an optimistic outlook, being a good problem solver, having enthusiasm, and maybe even, besides all that planning, being able to work well with others for whatever you might need to go with the flow, whatever was coming up for your ideal craft. And as with any endeavor, success includes many factors. And obviously a person's quality of mind will have a definite impact on the outcome, regardless of how favorable all the other elements may be. Something at this idea of our quality of mind. Because not only really for our crops, but also these are the things that will show up in your lives and that will help you understand as we move through this. So please pull out your workshop, The Garden of Your Mind. We're going to explore the power and the potential of the human mind and how this marvelous instrument, your mind, has a great impact on your quality of life. And what you have before you is called a pictogram. A pictogram is a learning tool that uses an image to help teach and convey a concept.
In today's training, we're going to use the image of a garden to help us explore some of the most important aspects of the mind. You will notice there are plenty of spaces on this pictogram to fill in the missing information. So go ahead and grab a pen or a pencil and get ready to learn about the unlimited power and potential of our mind.
So I'd like you to notice that there's an ear of corn icon at the top right of the pictogram. And there's a key message that we'd like for you to put down in this area. And that key message is,
it is through our thoughts that we create the world we live in. One more time. It is through our thoughts that we create the world we live in.
You might even want to pause the recording for a moment just to reflect on this and notice your thoughts. Do you have some resistance to this idea? Do you disagree with it, or do you agree with it? Is there a part of you that understands that if you can change your thoughts, you become empowered to change your attitude? So take a moment and pause to reflect on that. So we can alter our world by simply altering our thoughts. If we change our thoughts, we can change our lives. From this perspective, our minds become our most crucial resource, an incredibly rich, fertile piece of land where we can plant and grow whatever we like.
If we become aware and master the mind's power, we can consciously create greater happiness, a sense of abundance, and a feeling of freedom in our lives. It all begins with our minds. By understanding that it is our thinking that causes our experiences, we then realize how much control we have over the circumstances in our lives. Moment by moment, thought by thought, we are farmers planting seeds for the harvest yet to come.
Yes, absolutely. And whether we do this work actively or passively, we have a tremendous influence on what does happen in our lives. So now to further understand the power of the mind, let's explore the three fundamental truths, the way that the mind operates. We call these truths mind organics. So please refer back to the Garden of Your Mind worksheet and draw your attention to those three circles that are numbered 1, 2, and 3. And these are where you can take some notes about the three truths of your mind. Because when these truths, when you really understand them, you can improve your behavior and your life in really significant ways. So the first truth is that the mind is constantly active.
We guide the mind, but we cannot stop it. It's like the ocean, always moving, always working. The mind continually generates a never-ending flow of thoughts that produce endless effects. When we don't actively manage our mind, we don't manage our harvest, therefore leaving the outcome to chance.
Yes, absolutely. And on the other hand, if we assess our thoughts when we think them, we can change the direction of our minds and move from thinking something detrimental to thinking something positive. And since the mind is constantly active, we shouldn't let it choose negative, unproductive thoughts, but instead make sure it's fixed on positive, constructive thoughts that will bring about the success that we want to experience in our lives. No thought is ever forced upon us. We choose each and every thought we have. However many times we are not conscious of our thoughts. So our goal is to become more aware of what we are thinking. And so the second truth is that the mind is boundless. Not only is the mind in a constant state of activity, it is virtually boundless in its capabilities. You can use your imagination and your creativity and think without limit.
We can dream and invent at will. We can even take existing facts and knowledge and perceive them in new and interesting ways. The mind is also an intractable force. No one can make you think thoughts that you don't wish to think. Without your consent, no external idea can be imposed upon you, plain and simple.
That's right. So remember that without your consent, no external idea can be imposed upon you. So that leads us to the third truth, that the mind is in the driver's seat. Your body does nothing independent of your mind. In fact, we actually call the subconscious mind the mind of the body, and we'll get into a little bit more about that down the road. So every act, no matter how big or small, starts in the mind. In other words, your mind wills and your body responds. The body is truly a servant of the mind. It brings ideas into being. Your behaviors are your mind driving your body to fulfill a thought. You cannot stop your mind, but you can control its most prevalent thoughts. Let's look at this slide. Let's just review those again.
The mind is constantly active. The mind is boundless. The mind is in the driver's seat.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that picture.
Great picture.
So which of these truths of the mind is most interesting to you, and then why? What would be the most important thing to remember out of those three truths about the mind? And then also, what do you think is the most interesting out of those three truths, and why? So take a moment just to answer those questions. Which of the three truths of the mind is the most interesting to you, and why? And which of the three truths about the mind do you feel is the most important thing that you really want to remember? And record that. So take a moment to pause the recording and think about that. Now, please place a star next to the truth that you feel is the most critical for you to remember. Jerry, what would you pick?
I think for me, I would pick the mind is constantly active. Just a reminder that I'm always thinking thoughts, I'm always processing and reframing, and to set that into a positive mindset for me. So when I'm having these active thoughts, I want to focus on having active, positive thoughts for myself.
Absolutely, and I would take that right into the second one, which is that the mind is boundless. And the mind is boundless if we take ownership of positive thoughts and really, literally cultivate attitudes of gratitude, cultivate positive thoughts. And there's a myriad of ways to do that. Because here's the key thing, is that, number one, the body is the servant of the mind. So just by even taking mastership and ownership of that your mind is, can really affect things like even your health. And this is an area where we deal a lot with about subconscious limiting beliefs, and we teach people how to reframe the subconscious mind beliefs that influence our behaviors, because only 2 to 10% of our mind is actually the conscious mind. Everything else is literally buried below the surface, but boy, can they wreak havoc in your daily life if you don't take some ownership and some mastership of reframing some of those limiting beliefs and behaviors. So now that the soil of our mind is ready and we understand some of the fundamental truths governing mind operation, it's time to look at the seeds of thought that we're planting. Of course, our thoughts can be as limitless as the mind itself. So here's a big question. Which thoughts are we inclined to plant? So that leads us to our next activity, our current seeds of thought. So let's refer back to the Garden of the Mind worksheet and direct your attention to the Planting Thought Seeds icon at the bottom left side of the page. In this space next to the icon, you can take notes on what we're about to say, so you can refer back to this. So, planting the thought seeds. Thoughts are real. Like seeds, they are concentrated bundles of energy, and they have immense potential and power.
We have known for decades that the brain is a transmitter of energy measured in waves, and that the brain waves can be gauged and quantified. So science validates that thoughts are energy. And if they are energy, then they are also matter. Everything we create from matter goes through 2 stages of creation.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that's a really interesting concept just to think about that, is that energy is matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first, an idea forms in the mind. We call these ideas thought seeds. And just like when we garden, these ideas are placed like seeds in the tilled soils of our minds. Every thought seed sown that falls into the rich, fertile soil of the mind and takes root eventually produces a blossom. Second, these thought seeds are nurtured. We water, fertilize, and care for them so that one day a real sprout grows.
This means that the outer world of our life is a direct result of the inner world of our thoughts. The 2 are connected. By understanding the connection between our internal thoughts and our external world, we know that we can simply plant a new thought seed and create something new in our external world.
Absolutely. So now we want to invite you to participate in a self-awareness exercise. So in order to plant new thought seeds, we must first become aware of our thoughts and to understand how those thoughts are shaping, consciously or unconsciously, our outlook, our character, and our circumstances. So let's test our ability to identify our thoughts. And we'll do this through a short, guided self-awareness exercise so you can test your ability to identify your thoughts. So put down your pens and pencils and whatever you're writing with and get yourself really relaxed in your chair that you're sitting in, or maybe you're lying down. And when you're ready, you're just going to become the observer of your thoughts in this self-awareness exercise. let's start by simply becoming aware of yourself while you sit quietly in your chair. The feel of the chair, your feet on the ground, your arms resting. Become even more aware now of the room you're in. Pay attention to the distinct sounds, the sights, the smells. And as you're sitting or lying in that room, in this very present moment, taking in your surroundings, simply become aware of your breathing. Slow and steady breath, the in and out of the breath like the waves. Anchor yourself in this current moment. And as you continue breathing in and out, close your eyes and ease into a state of relaxation. You might even breathe in the word relax on the in-breath, and as you exhale, think of the word peaceful or calm, relax. And as you continue to relax, become aware of any sensation you feel in your body. Recognize how your body is informing you of these sensations. Adjust your position. Get even more comfortable. And now, release any tension that you feel, letting it wash away when you exhale. And let it fall onto the floor beneath your feet. That's right, and as you continue to relax, you might even notice certain areas of your body that maybe are holding on to more tension. And as you breathe in, you might even give tension a color, a shape, or a sound. And breathe it out all the way down to the bottom of your feet and also in your exhaled breath. Release the areas of tension in your body one at a time, from the top of your head down, all the way down and out through the soles of your feet. And continue to do this until you feel your body really relaxing and releasing and letting go of all the tension. And now attune all your senses to life going on around you in this very present moment. And bring your attention now to your thoughts. Any thoughts that come to mind. The goal here is to differentiate yourself from these thoughts, to see them as separate from your being, to become the observer of your thoughts. Or another way is to think about it is to take a bird's eye view of your thoughts. And as you pay close attention, notice your thoughts bubbling up from your mind and releasing from their source. And as they continue to bubble up, you might notice at times they bubble up very quickly and at other times at a slower pace. Just visualize them floating by in front of you. Let them float by, each one at a time. And don't become absorbed in them. Just watch them as they pass you by, almost as if you could place your thoughts on leaves that are floating down a stream. drifting off, way off into the distance. Just be the observer of the thoughts. Watch them float by. And with each thought you have, say to yourself, that could be a thought about my job. Oh, there's another thought about my job. And maybe there's thoughts about my spouse or my partner, my friend or my children. And, well, there's another thought about my spouse, my partner, my friend, and my children. Maybe there's thoughts about your car. Simply label them without getting attached to them. Fully accept these thoughts, whatever they are, and just be in the moment with your thoughts. Take a longer pause to notice those thoughts now. And as your thoughts continue to float by, recognize now your emotions that are associated with them. Notice how your thoughts affect how you feel in your body. With each thought, identify what you feel in your body. The difference between the neutral observation that maybe you were having a few moments ago, and notice the difference now when you engage the emotional involvement with your thoughts. So feel your thoughts. Take a moment to do that. Okay. And when you're ready, just simply bring your awareness back to sitting in your chair or lying down. Feel the chair beneath you or the surface beneath you. Feel your feet on the ground. Wiggle your fingers, your toes. Stretch. Become aware of the room, your surroundings that are around you. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes and come back. Bring your awareness back to our voices now. So we hope you enjoyed that exercise, that meditation of just going into becoming the observer of your thoughts. So what thoughts are you predominantly sowing at this moment in your life? What thoughts are the most prevalent thoughts in this time in your life? You might want to pause the recording to reflect on that. Then, what emotions are associated with these thoughts? And again, take a moment to pause and reflect on the emotions that are associated with these thoughts. And then why is it important to pay attention to the emotions our thoughts produce? Pause your recording to reflect on that. Jerry, my thoughts, I know when I do that, are just about all the things that I have to get done. And sometimes I notice that causes me some anxiety and also sometimes some excitement. What are some of the thoughts when you pause just to notice what are the predominant thoughts going through your head?
For me, right now, just all the different activities and events that I have going on, which are very, very exciting, but I also want to make sure that I don't let the thoughts of overwhelm seep in. I want to stay attached to that excitement of all the activities going on.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So the key points to make here are that observing our thoughts is like being in a movie theater. When we're in the front row, it's all-consuming. But when we create some distance by moving back from the screen, we can get a different perspective. Similarly, by paying attention to our thoughts, we can place some distance between ourselves and those thoughts. And doing this allows us to then become more aware of what we're thinking and change it if it's counterproductive. Jerry and I use this in techniques that we call seeing, feeling, hearing. And we use it in anything to access the subconscious mind, whether it's through hypnosis, the lifeline technique, theta healing. It just helps us to pay attention to our own thoughts. Jerry, what would you like to say about seeing, feeling, hearing?
One of the things that I like to share when I'm doing this activity is when you're observing what you're seeing and feeling and hearing, that it's in a non-judgmental way. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is.
Neutral, yeah. And the other thing that Jerry and I also like to ask people to do is to listen to this thought. Listen to the inner voice, which can be such a powerful telltale of the limiting beliefs that you're holding on to about yourself. So let's bring it back to the farmers in us. So to be successful farmers and to cultivate supportive thoughts, we're going to have to weed out the thoughts that are sabotaging our success. So let's apply this to our thoughts now. How can we manage the thoughts that we don't want? So we have this process called the weeding process, managing the thoughts that you don't want. So please refer back again to the Garden of Your Mind worksheet and direct your attention to that icon of the shovel and the pitchfork down on the bottom left. That's the shovel and the pitchfork. And in that space next to this icon, you can take notes about how to manage the thoughts that you don't want. So in order to keep our gardens at their best, we must nurture the fruit-bearing plants and keep up the weeds. And the same is true with the gardens of our mind. We must be aware of our most thoughts so that we can keep the fruitful ones and discard the others.
If you are satisfied with the fruit you're reaping in your life, then great. You are probably doing a good job of managing your thoughts. On the other hand, if you do not like the fruit you are bearing, you can change it by altering the thoughts that are not serving you. Again, if you do not like the fruit you are bearing, you can change it by altering the thoughts that are not serving you.
Absolutely. And remember that since your mind is like a garden, you can grow any crop that you like. The choice is yours. It's really a simple equation. We think a thought, and that thought drives our body, which in turn defines our behavior, which ultimately creates our world or our perception of reality. Therefore, as the gardeners of our mind, it is imperative that we manage the thoughts that are productive and eliminate the ones that are not. So let's move on and transition into this next topic. Being aware of your thoughts plays a big part in effective mind management. And there are also a variety of mind management techniques to help you control your thoughts. Let's look at two simple but really powerful mind management tools. The first one is called thought refusal, and the second one is called thought stopping. First up, thought refusal. And this is an easy way to think of it, like a warrior. Warriors are highly skilled and trained to protect themselves and to ward off the enemy. We too must build up our armor against unwanted, non-productive thoughts that pop up in our minds and eliminate them as soon your armor against the unwanted, non-productive thoughts. So let's refer back to the Garden of Your Mind worksheet and direct your attention to the rows of corn icons that are on the bottom right side of your page. Now, this is modeled after Prentice Mulford, who's considered by many to have been a key thought pioneer back in the 1800s, actually from 1834 to 1891. And he wrote numerous essays on the mind, our thoughts, and our spirituality.
He says that we must deny access to those thoughts we don't want, and we can train our minds to shut out these thoughts immediately. We can gradually train the mind to bar the door tightly. Mulford came up with a simple yet effective way to manage the thoughts that we don't want entering our minds.
So find the space next to the rows of corn on your worksheet. I'm going to share with you Mulford's easy thought refusal technique, and we'd like you to write down in that space that's provided. And here's what the Prentice Mulford would deliberately say every time he had a thought that he didn't want, a thought that was unproductive, ineffective, or limiting. He would say,
I refuse this thought and the mental condition it has brought on me which affects my body.
So that's powerful. So I'll repeat that one. I refuse this thought and the mental condition it has brought on me which affects my body. Mulford believed that the way to eliminate unhealthy, unproductive thoughts was to put up a barrier just to keep them out. This thought refusal tool addresses the link between our thoughts and our emotional and physical impact. Our thoughts are quick and fleeting. Therefore, we need to train our minds to recognize negative thought patterns immediately so we can control our thoughts instead of our thoughts controlling us. So let's practice Prentice Mulford's thought refusal tool on our thoughts that we no longer want to have. So take a moment to identify a prevailing negative thought that you frequently have. Just take a moment to do that. This will be a thought that is counterproductive to what you want in your life. You also could think about what frequent thought do you have that is counterproductive in your life, however you want to phrase that. So just take a moment to identify that. And if you do get stuck, just remember that life shows us our most prevalent thoughts and that we can get a sense of the kind of thoughts that we're entertaining by looking at what is literally showing up in our lives, because that's our behavior. That's all of our self-limiting beliefs. So that's an easy little tip and for you to tap into there. So once you have identified a thought that you want to eliminate, let's practice the thought refusal technique by saying it out loud while thinking of the undesirable thought. So Jerry, how about reading that again?
I refuse this thought and the mental condition it has brought on me which affects my body.
So I'll read it. I refuse this thought and the mental condition it has brought on me which affects my body. And together, I refuse this thought and the mental condition it has brought on me which affects my body. You'll notice it becomes more and more powerful the more that you repeat that. And literally it is closing off a pathway, and actually a neural pathway that you want to shut down and create and cultivate a new neural pathway. It's like if you walked across a grass quad and you walked across the same exact path every single day. Eventually, you would wear away the grass and you would have just a grooved path in the dirt, and you wouldn't even have to think about anything. You would just automatically walk that. That's how you can create this thought refusal, is by shifting that focus, taking charge, and making a powerful statement like that. We believe that our thoughts can be kept secret sometimes, but they really can't, because our words and behaviors reflect what's going on in our minds. And if I asked you what your perspective on money is, per se, it wouldn't take long for me to detect your most prevalent thoughts about how you view money. This is an issue for a lot of people and seems to be a trigger for a lot of people. So what would be the blocks to abundance? What would be the blocks to you believing that you could achieve financial prosperity? And a lot of it is just about the languaging on how you talk about any subject. Mulford once said, the vision you glorify in your mind, the ideal you enthrone in your heart, this you will build in your life by. This you will become. So if a person wants to alter his life, he must first alter his thoughts. So the second mind management tool that we need to look at is similar to the thought refusal tool, and it is called thought stopping. You can use the thought stopping technique to help control negative thoughts that you may be harboring about yourself. What types of negative thoughts do you have about yourself? And it could be about anything. It could be about failures in relationships, jobs, any other circumstances in your life. What unpleasant comments maybe others have made about you? Maybe unresolved conflict. Maybe it's the constant reminders about your life and how it isn't measuring up the way that you wanted it to. Whatever thoughts we quietly harbor, they are often a negative storyline focusing on our failures and our weaknesses. So when the thought has already overtaken us, Mulford recommends that we stop, cope, and take control of the tool of thought stopping. So we use stop, cope, and take control.
And I actually used this technique as a building principle. When one of the staff members would come up and they would say, you know, they were very upset about a situation, I would literally put my hands out and say, stop. How can we reframe that? And it really does work. It's just putting that physical space out there to stopping that energy of the thought.
Yes, absolutely. So if you look at the Garden of Your Mind worksheet and just look at the bottom right corner where you see the rows of corn, when you become aware of a negative thought about yourself, a real common one for a lot of people is, I'm so fat, or I'm unattractive, or I'm not good enough. The thought-stopping technique is to do something physically to offset the negative thought. So when the negative thought occurs, do something physically, such as maybe snap your fingers, clap your hands, tap your wrist, make a gesture in some way, like, Jerry, you like to use the stop sign.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you were talking about, too, as holding up your hands and just like stop. And then the second part of this is to take a deep breath and let it out slowly, because this will help release anxiety and stress. And when you do that, you can access your higher creative mind function, so you can be a better problem solver. And then challenge the negative thought and change it into something positive. I am in the process of reaching my ideal weight, or my weight doesn't define or hide the incredible person that I am, or I am lovable, I am worthy. So again, these 3 steps are to have awareness of the negative thoughts, to create a physical gesture, the snap your fingers, clap your wrist, tap your wrist, gesture in some way. And one of the techniques I love is to do the hair tie on the wrist, or an elastic beaded band, or whatever that's elastic that you could literally snap against your wrist. And that's something that both males and females can use really easily. So the physical gesture, breathe, and then challenge a negative thought and make it positive. So you're literally flipping it and reframing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the keys are to focus your thoughts on what is right about yourself and your life, to view areas of your life that are not ideal, and also to look at opportunities for learning and growth. One of the other techniques that we've learned in life coaching is to identify the ANTs. And the ANTs is an acronym that stands for the automatic negative thoughts. And literally, you just picture those ants in your mind, and you send them marching out through the other side of your mind. I love that. That just creates a nice visual there. So please look for success in everything that you do, and stop your mind from only seeing what isn't right. You literally want to change the lens of perception. So now we're going to practice this thought-stopping tool on a negative thought that you harbor about yourself. So take a moment to identify a personal negative thought that you have. You can pause the recording if you need to. And this is what you're going to do. Remember this. You're going to offset the thought by doing something physical like finger snaps, clapping hands, tapping wrist gesture, taking in a deep breath, exhaling slowly, and then change the negative thought into something positive. So you're literally reframing, rewording. Now pause the recording. Take a moment to do that. This is a really empowering tool. I really like this one, Jerry. I think it's a great reminder. And as you continue to practice these techniques, you'll start to notice that the negative thoughts process much quicker as they enter into your conscious mind. And you'll ultimately reach a point where a negative thought just melts away and has no impact on you whatsoever. So remember, it took a lot of repetition to groove those negative thoughts and limiting beliefs. So the more you use this tool and techniques, the more that you will create that repetition to reframe and automatically stop those negative limiting thoughts. So in a moment, we're going to start thinking differently about how this could really change your world. Because literally, when you do shift your thinking, you will show up differently. So let's wrap this up by looking at the results of a new way of thinking, really the time for the harvest. One of the basic tenets of life, the law of the harvest states,
as you sow, so shall you reap.
I know, I love that.
Beautiful picture, Phil.
Yes. As you sow, so shall you reap. Nowhere does this principle hold more truth than in the garden of the mind. So let's refer back one more time to the Garden of Your Mind worksheet and direct your attention to the basket of fruit icon that's on the bottom right side of the page. You'll notice on the worksheet that there's an arrow linking the thought seeds on the left panel to the fruit of your thoughts panel that's on the right side. This has been the essence of our training today, because by planting positive thought seeds and weeding out our negative thoughts, we have fertile ground upon which to direct our lives and our successes. So take a moment in that space of the fruits of your thoughts, and we'd like you to write down some of the thoughts of how you can really cultivate and create a shift. Some of the thoughts, just to give you some ideas, are
unconditional love, contentment, peace, focus, love, grace, and ease.
And the question to ask yourself is truly, as Jerry just finished reading about hope and the positive influence, is what fruit will you harvest in your life? We'd like to just wrap up in the next slide. This really was about learning how to change your thoughts to reap a better life, and the recap about what did you learn today. The key points are to review the arrows that link the thought seeds to the thought channel that links your thoughts to what you create as your reality. So what are your insights about that? And then to remember that planting positive thought seeds and weeding out negative thoughts, you can create fertile ground to direct your successes and therefore your life. As you sow, so shall you reap. A few other thoughts that you can also look at are on the activity bonus of your worksheets. And those would be like questions of what are some of the ways that you can cultivate the garden of your mind? What new thought seeds adapt and grow? Where and how can you become an observer of your thoughts? Name something that this program has helped you to improve. You can even give one detailed success story. And then what are some of the positive consequences of this improvement in your life?
What new perspective have you been able to own as a result of this teleseminar? What one or two things do you want to continually focus on?
So those are some great questions that can just enhance this learning process for you. We really appreciate you being with us and allowing us to facilitate you moving through this module. We look really forward to hearing about your success. So let us know if you have any questions, and as you continue through the next module in this series of transitioning through change so that you can thrive while you shift. The next module is going to be a really powerful one for you about confidence, and you'll take all of these techniques and move it into really learning how to cultivate more confidence in your life as well. We'd like to remind you of our other programs that are on our website of lightenupandthrive.com.
The 28-day program that I facilitate is called Let Your Soul Shine.
And I have a 28-day soul coaching program called Letting Go Into the Flow. And you see on this slide, Jerry and I both have ways that you can contact us through email. So Jerry at lightenupandthrive.com and at lightenupandthrive.com. So again, thank you for joining us. We're really glad you did, and we look so forward to hearing from you and to help to facilitate you moving through this entire series. Until next time, be well and keep thriving.
Take care.